Hey everyone, welcome back to the Love Inspire channel. Today we're diving into something truly fascinating, something that's been hidden in plain sight for far too long. Before we get started, I want you to take a moment and think about the relationships you've witnessed. The ones that seem to have that magical quality, that undeniable chemistry that makes everyone around them wonder, what's their secret? I was at this upscale coffee shop in downtown last month, the kind with exposed brick walls and artisanal everything. I wasn't planning to eavesdrop, but sometimes life gives you these perfect moments of observation. There was this couple seated at the corner table. She was absolutely captivated by him. I mean, completely entranced. Leaning forward, eyes locked on his, hanging on every word. Her body language was telegraphing total engagement, slight smile playing on her lips, eyes bright with interest, occasionally brushing her hair behind her ear. Here's what fascinated me. This guy wasn't conventionally handsome. He wasn't wearing expensive clothes. He wasn't showering her with compliments or grand gestures. In fact, to any casual observer, there was nothing obviously special happening. But something powerful was occurring between them. Something that created this bubble of intimate connection in a crowded cafe. I couldn't help but wonder, what exactly was happening there? What was creating that magnetic pull? And, more importantly, could it be understood and recreated? That question sent me on a journey through research studies, psychological theories, evolutionary biology, and hundreds of conversations with real couples who've maintained passionate connections for decades. What I discovered challenged everything I thought I knew about attraction and connection, especially when it comes to what women truly desire at their core. And let me tell you right now, it's not what most relationship experts claim it is. Now, I know you might be skeptical. You've probably heard all sorts of theories about what women want. Some say it's financial security. Others insist it's emotional stability. Some point to physical attraction, while others talk about compatibility of values. And yes, all of these factors matter to varying degrees. But what if I told you there's something deeper driving feminine attraction? Something so fundamental that when you understand it, everything else falls into place. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll understand the most powerful female fantasy that nobody talks about, and exactly how to trigger it authentically in your relationships. This isn't about manipulation or games. It's about creating genuine connection that gets stronger over time, not weaker. Let me share a story that illustrates this perfectly. One of my clients, Michael, came to me after his third serious relationship had ended in the same puzzling way. Michael had everything going for him: successful career as an architect, great social circle, passionate hobbies. He was attentive in his relationships, planning thoughtful dates, remembering anniversaries, actively listening when his partners spoke. Yet each relationship followed the same pattern: strong start, growing connection, and then around the 8-month mark, his partner would start becoming distant. When the inevitable breakup conversation happened, he'd hear some version of, "You're amazing on paper, but something's missing. I just don't feel that deep connection anymore." Michael was baffled. He was doing everything right according to the relationship advice he'd read. He wasn't the stereotypical emotionally unavailable guy. He wasn't neglectful or self-centered. Why couldn't he maintain that spark? The answer lay in understanding what was really happening beneath the surface of these relationships. Michael was ticking all the conventional boxes, but missing something fundamental about feminine psychology and desire. Before I reveal what Michael was missing, let's take a quick detour into evolutionary psychology. Throughout human history, women have faced unique challenges and risks, particularly around reproduction and child-rearing. Unlike men, who could theoretically reproduce with minimal investment, women were vulnerable during pregnancy and early child-rearing years. This created an evolutionary pressure for women to be highly selective about their partners, not just choosing physical strength or resources, but something far more important, the capacity for genuine understanding and empathic connection. A partner who could truly see and understand a woman's emotional state would be more likely to remain committed, to anticipate needs, and to provide consistent support through vulnerable periods. Fast forward to today. While the survival pressures have changed, this deep psychological wiring remains, which brings us to what I call the truth paradox of female desire. Here it is. The strongest attraction trigger for women isn't what a man looks like, what he owns, or even what he does. It's who he is and how he sees her. Let me repeat that. It's who he is and how he sees her. This brings us to the number one female fantasy that almost no one talks about. The fantasy of being truly seen. Not just physically seen, though that's part of it, but emotionally, psychologically, and essentially seen. At her core, a woman yearns to be with someone who can perceive beyond her external presentation to who she truly is, her complexity, her contradictions, her unspoken dreams and fears, and accept all of it without judgment. In a world where women are constantly objectified, simplified, or placed into convenient categories, the ability to truly see a woman in her full humanity is astonishingly rare. And when a woman encounters this quality in a partner, it creates a level of connection and attraction that transcends conventional attraction triggers. Now, this might sound abstract, so let me break down exactly what being seen means in practical terms. First, it means being perceived accurately, having someone recognize your emotional state, your unspoken needs, your true intentions, even when you haven't explicitly stated them. Second, it means being understood deeply, having someone who grasps not just what you're experiencing, but why it matters to you, connecting your current experience to your history, values, and sense of identity. Third, it means being accepted wholly, having someone who acknowledges both your light and shadow sides, your strengths and vulnerabilities, and embraces the complete reality of who you are. And fourth, perhaps most importantly, it means being chosen consciously, having someone who sees the real you, not an idealized projection, and actively chooses to remain engaged and connected. When these four elements come together, perception, understanding, acceptance, and conscious choice, they create an alchemical reaction in the feminine psyche that generates profound attraction and connection. Now, let me share another story. Jessica, a brilliant creative director at a major advertising firm, had a long history of dating what she called shiny men, attractive, successful, charismatic partners who looked great on paper and impressed her friends. Yet these relationships inevitably left her feeling strangely lonely, as if these men were dating an idea of her rather than her actual self. Then she met Daniel at a friend's dinner party. Daniel wasn't the most commanding presence in the room. He didn't have the most impressive job title or the most captivating stories. But something about him caught Jessica's attention. During their first conversation, she noticed that when she spoke, he listened differently than most people. It wasn't just that he maintained eye contact or asked questions. It was the quality of his attention. Present, curious, unhurried. When she mentioned feeling conflicted about a recent promotion at work, he picked up on something she hadn't explicitly stated. It sounds like you're torn between being proud of your achievement and worried about what the new responsibilities might mean for your creative freedom. That simple observation, which accurately named her unspoken concern, created an immediate sense of connection. Here was someone who could read between the lines, who could sense the emotional currents beneath her words. As their relationship developed, Jessica was continually surprised by Daniel's ability to see parts of herself that others missed. Not just her public-facing strengths, but her private doubts, her contradictions, her unacknowledged needs. He could tell when her laughter was genuine versus when it was masking anxiety. He noticed when a topic energized her versus when it drained her. Most importantly, Daniel didn't just observe these things. He responded to them with genuine curiosity and acceptance. He didn't try to fix her complex emotions or brush past her contradictions. He created space for her full humanity. 6 months into their relationship, Jessica realized something profound. For the first time in her life, she felt both completely seen and completely accepted. She didn't have to perform or manage impressions. She could simply be. And that experience of authentic being was simultaneously liberating and deeply attractive. Now, I can already hear some objections forming. Isn't this just basic emotional intelligence? Isn't this just about being a good listener? Yes and no. Being a good listener is part of it. But this goes deeper. This is about developing a particular kind of perceptual intelligence that few people consciously cultivate. So how do you develop this ability? And how do you communicate it authentically? Let's break this down into practical skills that anyone can develop with practice. The first skill is what psychologists call attunement, the ability to bring your full attention to another person's emotional state. This isn't just hearing their words, but understanding the feelings behind them. Attunement starts with presence, putting away distractions and giving someone your complete focus. It continues with observation, noticing subtle shifts in facial expression, body language, tone of voice, and it culminates in reflection, showing that you've not only registered these signals, but understood their significance. For example, instead of offering immediate solutions when she discusses a challenge at work, you might simply observe, "I'm hearing frustration in your voice, but I also sense there's something deeper, maybe feeling undervalued." This simple acknowledgement communicates that you're attuned to her emotional experience. The second skill is what I call perceptive curiosity, showing genuine interest in understanding her inner world, not just the facts of her life, but how she experiences them. Perceptive curiosity manifests in the questions you ask. Instead of, "How was your day?" try, "What moment from today stands out to you?" Instead of, "What do you do for work?" try, "What parts of your work light you up?" These questions invite deeper sharing and signal that you're interested in her subjective experience, not just gathering information. The third skill involves what psychologists call emotional intelligence, recognizing emotional patterns and understanding their deeper significance. For instance, if you notice she gets tense when discussing certain topics, you might gently observe, "I've noticed this subject seems to bring up some discomfort for you. Is there something about it that feels challenging?" This shows that you're paying attention to her emotional responses and care enough to check in about them. The fourth skill is comfort with complexity, the ability to hold contradictory aspects of a person without trying to resolve or simplify them. Many people, when confronted with someone's internal contradictions, rush to smooth them over or focus only on the parts that make sense to them. But truly seeing someone means recognizing that humans are inherently complex, often holding opposing desires and beliefs simultaneously. You might say, "I notice you're drawn to stability, but also crave adventure." Both of those desires make perfect sense, even though they pull in different directions. This acknowledgement of complexity shows that you can see the whole person, not just the convenient or consistent parts. Let me share another client's experience that demonstrates how powerful these skills can be in practice. James had been through a series of relationships that started strong but eventually fizzled out. On paper, he was a catch, Successful entrepreneur, physically fit, socially confident. He planned elaborate dates, listened attentively when his partners spoke, and made sure to compliment them regularly. Yet something was always missing. His relationships would start with intense chemistry, but eventually cool, with women often saying they just didn't feel that spark anymore despite his consistent efforts. When James came to me, I noticed something interesting about how he engaged with women. He was attentive and responsive, but there was something performative about his attention. He was listening to respond rather than listening to understand. He was present physically, but not emotionally. He was doing all the right things, but without the right internal orientation. We worked on developing the 4 skills I just described: attunement, perceptive curiosity, emotional intelligence, and comfort with complexity. I helped him shift from seeing these as techniques to seeing them as ways of being. The transformation was remarkable. Within 6 months, James met Sophia, and their connection developed differently than his previous relationships. Rather than following the familiar pattern of intense chemistry followed by growing distance, their connection deepened over time. 6 months in, Sophia told him something profound. "I've never felt so completely seen by anyone before. It's like you understand parts of me that I'm only just beginning to understand myself." That statement captures the essence of the female fantasy we're discussing: to be with someone who sees not just the surface self, but the deeper currents of identity and desire that run beneath. But here's the crucial part, and the main twist that most people miss. These skills only work when they're authentic. You can't fake true seeing. Women have evolved highly sensitive radar for detecting inauthenticity. This is why so many techniques and tricks ultimately fail. They might work temporarily, but without genuine presence and interest, they eventually ring hollow. The real power comes when you develop the capacity to truly connect with another person at this deeper level. And here's the beautiful irony. When you develop this ability, not only do you become incredibly attractive to women, but you also create the foundation for a genuinely fulfilling relationship for both of you. So how do you ensure your practice of these skills is authentic rather than performative? First, cultivate self-awareness. The ability to see others clearly begins with the ability to see yourself clearly. Work on recognizing your own emotional patterns, triggers, and defense mechanisms. The more aware you are of your internal landscape, the better you'll be at navigating someone else's. Second, develop genuine curiosity. Not strategic curiosity aimed at getting something, but authentic interest in understanding another person's experience. This means approaching conversations with an attitude of discovery rather than confirmation. You're not looking to validate what you already believe about her, but to learn something new. Third, practice vulnerability. Being able to share your own internal experience honestly creates space for others to do the same. This doesn't mean dumping your problems on someone, but rather showing that you're willing to be seen just as you're asking to see them. Fourth, release agenda. True seeing happens when you're not trying to get somewhere or achieve something from the interaction. It's about being fully present with what is, rather than maneuvering toward what you want. Let's get even more practical. Here are specific ways to put these principles into action in your daily interactions. Practice mindful presence. Before any important conversation, take a moment to center yourself. Take 3 deep breaths, put away distractions, and commit to being fully present. This simple practice dramatically increases your ability to pick up on subtle cues. Develop your observational skills. Start noticing the gap between what people say and how they say it. Pay attention to shifts in energy, changes in posture, variations in tone. These non-verbal signals often communicate more than words. ask better questions, move beyond surface-level inquiries to questions that invite deeper sharing. What was that experience like for you? What meaning did you take from that? How did that impact how you see yourself? Practice reflective listening. Instead of immediately responding with your own thoughts, try paraphrasing what you've heard and checking if you've understood correctly. So, what I'm hearing is, or it sounds like you're saying. This confirms that you're truly seeing their perspective. Look for emotional themes. Begin to notice patterns in how someone responds emotionally to different situations. These patterns often reveal core needs and values that might not be explicitly stated. Express appreciation for complexity. When you notice contradictory aspects of someone, acknowledge them with appreciation rather than confusion. I love how you're both incredibly analytical and deeply intuitive. Those different ways of knowing seem to give you a unique perspective. Remember that couple I mentioned at the beginning? What that man was doing was demonstrating these exact qualities. He wasn't just listening to her words, he was reading her emotional state, responding with genuine curiosity, and showing that he understood not just what she was saying, but who she was being in that moment. That's the power of truly seeing someone, and that's the fantasy that women respond to on the deepest level. To be with someone who can witness all aspects of who they are and still choose them, again and again. But here's something crucial to understand. This isn't just about attraction or getting someone to choose you. It's about creating the conditions for genuine intimacy and lasting connection. When you develop the ability to truly see others, several profound shifts happen in your relationships. First, trust deepens at an accelerated rate. When someone feels genuinely seen, they feel safe to reveal more of themselves, creating a positive cycle of increasing intimacy. Second, conflict transforms from threatening to clarifying. When both people know they're truly trying to understand each other, disagreements become opportunities for deeper connection rather than potential ruptures. Third, growth becomes mutual and reinforcing. As you help someone see themselves more clearly, you inevitably develop greater self-awareness as well, creating parallel journeys of personal development. Fourth, resilience increases dramatically. Relationships that feature this kind of deep seeing develop a robust foundation that can weather challenges that would destroy connections built on more superficial attraction. I've witnessed this transformation in countless relationships, turning lukewarm connections into passionate partnerships built on mutual understanding and respect. And the most beautiful part? These relationships tend to get better over time, not worse, because they're built on something real. Let me share one final story that illustrates the long-term power of this approach. Robert and Elena had been married for 37 years when I interviewed them about the secret to their enduring passion and connection. Both in their early 60s, they still spoke about each other with a blend of deep respect and palpable desire that was remarkable to witness. When I asked what had sustained their connection through decades of challenges, raising children, career changes, health scares, Elena's answer was illuminating. Robert has always had this uncanny ability to see me, not just who I was when we met, but who I was becoming. Sometimes he understood aspects of me that I hadn't yet recognized in myself. Robert smiled at this and added, "The amazing thing is that she's never stopped surprising me. Just when I think I know everything about her, she reveals new depths. That's kept me fascinated for nearly 4 decades." What they were describing wasn't just love in the conventional sense. It was a dynamic process of mutual discovery that had kept their connection alive and evolving over time. This points to perhaps the most beautiful aspect of developing the ability to truly see others. It creates relationships that deepen rather than diminish with time. Instead of the common pattern of passion fading into comfortable companionship, these relationships feature a continual unfolding of new layers of connection. So if you want to trigger this powerful fantasy, start by developing your ability to truly see others. Practice attunement, perceptive curiosity, emotional intelligence, and comfort with complexity. Approach each interaction with genuine presence and openness, free from agenda or performance. The results might surprise you. Not only will you become more attractive, but you'll also discover the profound fulfillment that comes from creating authentic connection. Now, I want to address a common question that might be arising. Is this just for men trying to attract women, or does it work both ways? The truth is that while I've focused primarily on the female fantasy of being seen, this principle applies universally. Men also deeply desire to be truly seen, though this desire often manifests differently due to social conditioning and gender expectations. For men, being truly seen often means having someone who recognizes their capacity, potential, and inherent value, not just what they can provide or achieve. It means being appreciated for qualities that might not be openly acknowledged in male-dominated spaces: sensitivity, vulnerability, emotional depth. So whether you're a man or a woman, developing these skills will transform your capacity for creating meaningful connection. Another question that often comes up: does this mean I need to become a mind reader? That seems impossible. No, this isn't about mind reading or getting it right all the time. In fact, being willing to be wrong and correct your understanding is a crucial part of the process. What matters is the quality of your attention and your genuine desire to understand. When you make a sincere effort to see someone, even your misses become opportunities for deeper connection. But what if I'm naturally more analytical or task-focused? Does this mean I'm doomed to poor relationships? Not at all. The skills I've described can be developed by anyone willing to practice them. If you're naturally analytical, you might actually have an advantage in noticing patterns and making connections. The key is directing that analytical intelligence toward understanding emotional experience rather than just factual information. Now let's talk about how to apply these insights in different relationship contexts. If you're single and dating, focus on developing genuine curiosity about the people you meet. Instead of trying to impress or perform, approach each interaction as an opportunity to discover something fascinating about another human being. This orientation will naturally lead you to ask better questions and listen more deeply. If you're in the early stages of a relationship, practice reflecting back what you're observing about your partner, not just their stated preferences, but their emotional responses and patterns. I've noticed you seem to light up when you talk about your work, or I sense that family gatherings are both important and sometimes challenging for you. If you're in a long-term relationship, recognize that truly seeing someone is an ongoing process, not a one-time achievement. People evolve and change. Create regular opportunities for deep conversation and discovery. Ask questions like, "What's something you've been thinking about that we haven't discussed?" Or, "How are you different now than you were a year ago?" Remember, the capacity to truly see others is like a muscle. It strengthens with conscious use. Start with small practices in daily life. Really notice the barista's energy when they serve your coffee. Observe your colleagues' reaction to feedback. Pay attention to your friend's tone when they talk about their weekend. These small moments of practice build your perceptual intelligence, making deep seeing more natural and automatic over time. I've seen this approach transform not just romantic relationships, but friendships, family dynamics, and even professional interactions. When people feel truly seen, they respond with greater trust, openness, and genuine connection. And now for the most important insight of all: the twist that changes everything. Developing the ability to truly see others ultimately changes how you see yourself. As you practice these skills, you'll begin to notice your own patterns, contradictions, and unacknowledged needs with greater clarity. You'll develop a more compassionate and complex understanding of your own motivations and behaviors. In essence, you'll start to see yourself as clearly as you see others. This is the hidden gift in this process. What begins as an effort to better connect with others becomes a path to deeper self-knowledge and personal growth. So if you want to trigger the most powerful female fantasy, being truly seen, start by developing your capacity for deep perception and genuine understanding. Not as a technique to get something, but as a way of being that enriches all your connections. I've seen this truth transform countless relationships, turning lukewarm connections into passionate partnerships built on mutual understanding and respect. And as I mentioned earlier, these relationships tend to get better over time, not worse, because they're built on something real. If you found value in this video, please hit that like button and subscribe for more insights on creating genuine connection. Your engagement helps this channel grow and allows me to continue sharing these perspectives. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your experiences with this concept. Have you felt truly seen in a relationship? Has developing this capacity changed your connections with others? Let's create a conversation around this important topic. And if you know someone who might benefit from this perspective, share this video with them. These insights have the power to transform relationships when put into practice with sincerity and commitment. Remember, real connection doesn't come from tricks or techniques. It comes from the courage to truly see and be seen. The journey toward this kind of authentic connection might be challenging at times, but it's infinitely rewarding. Thank you for staying with me through this exploration. Until next time, take care and stay authentic.